Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, October 8th from the San Antonio Express News. My name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect a high of 91 degrees and intermittent clouds in San Antonio today. As our 2020 Top Workplaces program comes to an end, we invite you to join our virtual award ceremony at noon today. Winners will be announced in each of the small, medium, and large business categories. Hear from companies throughout the community as they celebrate their top workplace. You can find a link to the virtual event at the link in this episode's description. Also on expressnews.com today, watch out for our latest home and garden columns. Calvin Finch will have a guide to planting shade trees, while Sperry will answer readers' questions about tree death in his down-to-earth column. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. Travelers' fear of flying is causing more flight cuts at San Antonio International Airport, as well as worker furloughs. American Airlines stopped its direct flights from San Antonio to Miami and Chicago's O'Hare International Airport at the beginning of September. American flights are down in San Antonio to 11 per day from 14 a day back in August, according to the carrier's flight schedule. For more on the numbers of furloughed workers by the airline and airport, read the latest from Randy Diamond. Ending weeks of internal debate, the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District on Wednesday agreed to begin counting and investigating all COVID-19 patients who test positive in antigen tests, regardless of whether they have symptoms. Mayor Ron Nirenberg threw his support behind changing the policy. That led Metro Health to tweak its instructions to case investigators, telling them to advise those who lack symptoms but test positive in an antigen test to isolate and quarantine. On Wednesday, interim Metro Health Director Colleen Bridger fully reversed course. Brian Chasnoff examines the decision and what it all means. A local woman facing criminal charges over the embezzlement of about $291,000 from Centro San Antonio has entered into a plea deal with federal prosecutors. Alicia Padilla has agreed to plead guilty to wire fraud and filing false tax returns. The embezzlement triggered a financial crisis at Centro, a public-private nonprofit created to help beautify downtown San Antonio and threatened to cripple its operations. It led to finger-pointing over whether the organization's leaders and city officials should have detected the misconduct sooner. Centro's CEO and CFO resigned in the wake of the scandal. Patrick Danner breaks it all down, including what's next and the possible sentence. Columnist Elena Ayala writes, quote, "If you've been trying to squeeze some good news out of 2020, the Northside Independent School District has delivered. Trustees on Tuesday night approved naming the district's newest high school for U.S. Supreme Court Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor, carrying on a tradition of naming secondary schools for members of the High Court. The timing was apt, falling during National Hispanic Heritage Month and 11 years to the day since Sotomayor first heard oral arguments as a Supreme Court justice. Today's decision was a first in several ways. Ayala explains more in her latest column. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Also, be sure to check out other Express News podcasts such as Puro Politics, In Depth, and the Express News editorial board. You can find links to those podcasts in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. Be sure to head over to expressnews.com to check out our 2020 Voters Guide. Our comprehensive guide has the key dates, frequently asked questions, and a full breakdown of every race and ballot measure Bexar County voters will see when voting in the 2020 election. You can find a link to the voter guide in this episode's description. Governor Greg Abbott announced Wednesday that bars can reopen as early as next week, but with restrictions and only if first approved by a county judge. As the number of COVID-19 cases in San Antonio tipped over 59,000 on Wednesday, Mayor Ron Nirenberg urged residents to partake in physically distant Halloween festivities to avoid spreading the coronavirus. Cornerstone Church founder and senior pastor John Hagee is doing well and immediately went into isolation when he learned he had the coronavirus, according to a church spokesman. But the church won't say if Hagee's close contacts are being traced. Via Metropolitan Transit will host 2 virtual public meetings on Thursday and Tuesday, both at 6 p.m., to invite comment about various service changes that might take effect in January. The city of San Antonio has issued more than 2,900 warnings and 255 citations for violating the emergency declarations, according to an enforcement report. You can find the latest citations in the link in this episode's description. In a split vote, Northside Independent School District trustees voted to name its newest high school after U.S. Supreme Court Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the first Latina to sit on the country's highest court. The National Park Service has named a new superintendent for the San Antonio Missions National Historic Park. Christine Jacobs will replace Marty Arce in the top staff position at the park, which encompasses 4 federally run mission sites that are open to the public. Aspiring teachers now attending the Alamo colleges will soon have a clearer pathway to completing their coursework at the University of Texas at San Antonio, thanks to a new partnership between the schools. The company behind such storied suds as Lone Star and Pabst Blue Ribbon is now calling San Antonio home once again. Early voting in Texas will still begin in 6 days as planned, and mail ballots can be dropped off in person in the days preceding the election after the Texas Supreme Court rejected a bid seeking to roll back Governor Greg Abbott's executive order on that matter. In its recommendation for the Texas Senate, the Express News editorial board writes, quote, Roland Gutierrez's policies better fit District 19 than the incumbent, and Judith Safrini is a fixture of the Texas Senate. As for the Texas House, the Express News editorial board recommends Republican State Representative Steve Allison against Democratic challenger Selena Montoya in District 121, saying, quote, this rematch has long been viewed as a possible tipping point as Democrats seek to flip the Texas House from red to blue. Brooke, a millennial pop star who made her first big splash as part of the girl group Fifth Harmony, may seem awfully young to have written a 336-page memoir, but as the San Antonio native notes, she's packed a lot into her life. Finding Your Harmony, Dream Big, Have Faith, and Achieve More Than You Can Imagine, which will be released on Tuesday, is a big-hearted account of Brooke's young life. It's laced with words of encouragement aimed at her fans, as well as her favorite Bible verses. Deborah Martin has more at expressnews.com. With the growing season coming to a close for much of that greenery in South Texas, this week we're highlighting 4 ways to preserve that bounty for the coming months. Whether it's a mountain of mint or bales of basil you're sitting on, we have a method that will work for you. You can check out Paul Stevens' latest column at the link in this episode's description. To truly make a statement with your backyard, you have to go with natural gas. Gas fire pits are easier to light, burn steady, and there's no ash to clean up in the morning. We have 6 trends in fire pits at the link in this episode's description. Express News staff writer David Hinojosa sets up the San Antonio area's high school football weekend. Also, the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts' upcoming walking tour downtown allows guests to fully immerse themselves in a crime investigation based on one of the world's greatest art heists. And that's all for today. This is your Express briefing for Thursday, October 8th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all of the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.